The Boy Scouts, an icon of American life, will be at the center of multiple lawsuits. The accusation, the organization's inaction in the face of thousands of sexual abuse claims at the hands of leaders. A Jacksonville man is part of the lawsuit.
I was in love with him. He was a father figure. I don't know how to explain it.
For a while, did you think what he was doing was like
normal? Yeah. I mean, at that young of an age and innocent, I was very innocent at the time.
He's sharing his story for the first time with Jeannie Blaylock.
His goal? To show parents how it happened and how his mom and dad were duped. I've interviewed hundreds of victims in my years as a reporter, and few have struck me like the man you're about to meet.
If he were to walk in this room, what would you say?
I would beat the out of him. I would not say a word.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law.
The Boy Scout Oath. For decades, young boys trusting their scout leaders to teach them honor. But for this Jacksonville man,
It's messed my whole life up.
he says his scout leader was a child molester.
Do you mind if I ask you, has it ever made you suicidal?
Yeah,
Did you
3 times.
We're calling him Mitch, and he's willing to share details how he says the predator carried out his scheme for years.
It's messed me up.
It's the 1970s. He got an invitation from his scout leader to the high school jubilee as a young boy.
7th grade, I think 11, maybe 12.
So that was really cool, like to
Yeah,
be with the
it was-
big
oh,
high school
yeah.
kids.
Yeah, all the big high school kids were going to be your brother and they were going to take care of you.
But turns out the only person in the tent, his scout leader. And then that night,
He penetrated, yes. Scared that the other kids would find out, and it hurt. He tore me. I had to keep doing all the daily stuff with, you know, there was blood and there was hurt. You know, he was always giving out awards, rewards for different sexual acts. If you gave him a job, he would give you a knapsack.
Did you tell your mom or your dad?
No, didn't tell anybody. Afraid of getting in trouble, so I never told anybody.
and besides, Mitch says, the scout leader buttered up his family. Dinners and movies on those old VHS tapes.
Once he got my parents' trust, he'd take me for weekends.
But despite it all, Mitch says it turned into a relationship.
I was in love with him. He was a father figure.
We are not naming the scout leader because he was never charged in a criminal case, but he's one of many in the files made public by the LA Times in 2012. In the Perversion Files, or Files of Ineligible Volunteers as the BSA calls them, the scout leader Mitch says abused him was accused of, quote, a child molestation incident involving 2 youngsters in 1979. A letter from a Scout Council executive says the accused, quote, admitted to the charges and agrees to seek professional help. And so no charges were pressed. He was then, the files say, kicked out of the Boy Scout program.
These are files they kept secretly on child molesters.
Vincent Napo in Seattle is Mitch's attorney. His firm, PCVA, has hundreds of clients now who say they were abused in the Boy Scouts.
We're talking thousands and thousands of child predators that were in the program over the years.
And the comment from Boy Scouts of America? It reads partly, we care deeply about all victims of abuse and sincerely apologize to anyone who was harmed during their time in scouting. BSA also says its policy now includes this: at least 2 youth protection trained adults will be present with youth at all times. As for Mitch, one big message.
Don't be afraid to tell. You're not going to get in trouble.
One urgent plea from all of his trauma.
You have to tell. I was told that 100 times and I never told. That's probably my biggest regret. I should have told.
It's taken a lot of guts for you to sit here right now.
Yep. All right, I need a cigarette. We're done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was so hard on him. And as we mentioned, Mitch's lawsuit will be filed on December 1st because New Jersey has changed its statute of limitations. It will allow victims to sue until the age of 55 instead of the current age of 20. I also mentioned the Perversion Files, listing more than 5,000 people kicked out of the Boy Scouts for alleged sexual abuse. More than 22 Boy Scout leaders from our First Coast were expelled between 1947 and 2005. And you can see their names and the troop numbers from the LA Times database in this story on firstcoastnews.com. For First Coast News, on your side, I'm Jeannie Blaylock.